Hey guys, welcome back here to Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel and spending some time with me. And guys, today I want to talk about the quickest way that you can ensure that you're going to have a bad day on the water. There's a lot of different ways that people undermine their success on the water, before they get there or even once they get there. And I sort of want to bring light to that a little bit, so maybe you'll be aware of it and you can start doing some things that will ensure success rather than failure on the water here. Also, guys, for get started, one quick thing. We do still have the Get Ready for Spring sale going on my RB2s right here, sunglasses from SolarBat, and the RB3s both. Right now, you can get them at 30% off. I'll put the SolarBat link in the description. You can order them, or you can also order them through my Tackle Warehouse link. I'll have my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of the video. And guys, one quick thing about the Tackle Warehouse link. I know a lot of you guys have been supporting the channel by using that link. If you're watching my videos on the TV, you can't get to that link, so you got to be using either your computer or your cell phone, actually to get to that link to Tackle Warehouse. So just wanted to let everybody know. Really appreciate everybody that's been doing that. Thank you very much. Okay. What are some things people do that undermine their success? There's a lot of them, and a lot of people don't even know that they do it. One of the things, starting out, a lot of it has to do with attitude. The best attitude that you can have is that the fish are always biting. It may be tough or maybe easier on some days, but the fish are always feeding and always biting. The fish are never not biting. And a lot of people, they sort of undermine their own success mentally before they even get to the water, because they'll say, oh man, it's nasty and raining out today, and it's, cold front blew through, that fishing's going to be tough. Turn that around. Say, yeah, it's nasty and windy today, but man, I bet they're going to be biting a spinnerbait big time. Or yeah, that cold front came through, and I bet we can slow down and finesse them out and catch them on a Ned rig. Just try to flip the conversation a little bit to when you get out in the water, you're a little bit more excited and you're not trying to undermine, your success from just being negative about everything. The next thing you can do is another problem a lot of people do is they try to bite off too much of the lake. Now, if you're fishing a typical man-made lake, it may be anywhere between 5,000 to 100,000 acres. Now, I'm not talking about you guys that are fishing like ponds and smaller, little community lakes or something. I'm talking about typical man-made lakes. They're giant. And obviously, you can't do everything. You can't cover the whole lake, and you can't throw everything that's in your tackle box. So one of the things that a lot of people do is they try to cover too much water and do too much stuff. The best thing that you can do is make a game plan and simplify a little bit. And the simplification has to do with the area that you're fishing and the techniques that you're going to fish in that area. So make a decision before you go to the lake based upon the time of the year and all the information you have. You may say, well, yeah, I'm going to go down on the lower end of the lake and there's 2 creeks down there. I'm going to spend all day in there. Or you might say, I'm going to run way up that river and I'm going to spend all day in that river. Or you might say, there's a section of the lake down here in the mid lake and it's got tons of boat docks on it. And I'm just going to fish those docks all day. And then decide the same with your technique. Try to come up with maybe half a dozen techniques and get into those areas and commit to those areas and figure out what the fish are doing and how they're positioned and how they want to bite. So that immediately makes it where it's not quite so overwhelming. Okay, another thing, and this is a big one, guys, more than anything else, you have got to fish at the right pace, and you cannot slop through an area and expect to catch a fish. If there's one thing that undermines people's success in bass fishing more than anything else, is they slop through an area. And in other words, they're not paying attention to it. They're not paying attention to changes in water clarity or the type of cover. They're not being precise with their cast. When they're running the trolling motor, they're either coming into a piece of cover too fast or too slow, or they're too, their casting angles are off, or they're fishing way too fast. It could be a lot of different things. You can't do that. You have to focus on being quiet, number one, making really good casts, really good accurate casts. Be precise with your boat positioning. If you're coming up to a laydown tree in the water or a dock or something like that, take time to study the wind and the current, position your boat correctly, and then when you're working your lure, don't overwork it. Make sure that you're giving the fish time to get it. Don't work it for a foot or two and reel it in. A lot of times when you're not catching fish, you tend to speed up a little bit. And the more that you speed up when you're fishing, the less that you're going to catch. So when you're talking about slopping through an area, it has to do with pace. Now, I'm not saying that you should fish slow all the time, but you have to find the right pace. This is key. The pace depends on your technique. Let's say, for example, if you're flipping and pitching a jig in some really thick grass beds, obviously you got to slow down. You can't have the trolling motor on high and expect to do any good because your presentations are real precise. But let's say, for example, you got a long stretch of riprap or something, and you're just covering water with a crankbait on the riprap. You can dial up the trolling motor a little bit and pick up the pace a little bit as long as you're being efficient. So every single technique has a pace that you need to fish that's right for that lure. And that pace is also dictated by water temperature, time of the day, the type of lure that you're fishing. But again, if you can't figure out what the pace is, it always is better to slow down than to speed up. I have never seen a situation where you start catching more fish if you speed up. It's usually if you slow down. And then another thing is, like, people get, and this sort of goes back to one of those aspects I just talked about, but people get sloppy with their casting. And this undermines your success tremendously, because let's say, for example, you're fishing a crankbait or spinnerbait along the side of a boat dock. Sometimes you got to get that spinnerbait that far away from the boat dock for those fish to hit it. If you're that far away from it or a foot away from it, they're not going to come out and get that bait. So being able to put your lure where you want to exactly is so key to having a good day on the water. If you can't put that bait where you want to put it, you're sort of undermining your own success with that. Another thing that you can really do is pay attention to what the other people are doing. It's like, you don't want to fish behind people if you can avoid it. You want to pay attention, the techniques that they're using. And if you do have to fish behind somebody, say there's a lot of boats on the water, try something different. Don't do the same thing that they're doing, and just always use your ingenuity and creativity. That's going to be a big thing with your fishing. But anyway, guys, that's just a few of the main things. Like I said, if I could give you one piece of advice on everything, it's just, don't slop through your areas. That slopping through your areas is the quickest way to ensure that you're going to have a tough day on the water, I can promise you. So anyway, I hope it helps out, guys. We'll talk later.